So now we are going to do a small concentration exercise by which we are going to concentrate on our inside, and we are going to create intention that we want for your soul records to be open, and then you have to make a statement and say, please open my soul records. Looking at your soul records now. Soul origins begins in this universe. Soul could be considered an old soul, approximately 2 billion years old. Soul begins its evolution in some distant galaxy, in some unknown planet, which appears to be mostly vegetation. It's a very lively planet, but only in nature. Doesn't appear to have any kind of evolved beings like humans, or doesn't even appear to be animals, except some small bugs and insects, but mostly just nature. Your soul in there is part of that nature, is a part of the nature spirit. In that planet, as usual in other planets, there are certain regions, and those regions have regional nature, and those regional natures are observed by nature spirits. And the nature spirit, it is responsible for that region and all of that what grows there to grow and to perform its functions. It appears your soul is part mostly of the grass and flowers in the grass, everything that grows from the ground, but not something what is big like trees or something like that. Mostly it's an earth element based soul. It is like that for millions of years, nothing is changing, and you are just there with the growth and with the change of the growth. After millions of years, some kind of civilization was passing by that planet. It was an advanced civilization, somewhat humanoidic, that is similar to humans in a sense, but also quite different. Complicated to describe it. It's something like a cross between a human and a grey alien, and that civilization was passing by that planet, and they have seen that this planet is not inhabited, and they decided to create life there. So they have seeded life, animals, and some species. Apparently they have maybe even occupied it by themselves for some time. But the point is, they have seeded animals, and those animals, they were eating grass, and they have eaten the grass by which your soul was inhabiting, and by eating that grass, your soul was connected to the soul of those animals, and by connecting, eventually those animals had babies, and you have been reborn as one of those animals. These animals are somewhat like a rhinoceros, in a sense different, but also somewhat the most similar what we can say. So there have been quite a few years, more like millions of years again, in the animal form, and then again some other civilization have been passing. This civilization was more like similar to some kind of big insectoids, and they have decided to also do something with this civilization and introduce some kind of changes. And it appears they took some of the animals for testing, and they decided to study the the biology, and it appears that your soul have been one of those animals which have been taken on board of those ships, and it was studied anatomically and so on. And it appears that those insects also decided to eat that animal, to taste its flesh, and this way you have been transferred to those insectoids. Those insectoids are more like similar to ants, but they are somewhat standing straight and a little bit resembling some kind of humanoid shape, but mostly very similar to ant. You have been living with that civilization then, because it appears that your soul has been transferred to those ants, and you have reincarnated with those ants. It appears that you have been transferred then to their home planet. It was a big planet apparently, with a lot of ants, and you have been living in the ant colony planet for a long time. After that, millions of years have passed again. It appears that that civilization have endured some kind of catastrophe. It appears that a meteor have crashed into their planet and they had to evacuate, and we began to look for new planets to inhabit, and they haven't really quite found it easily. We traveled for a long time looking for different places to stay. You also have been on the spaceship. Eventually it appears that they have found their home in this Milky Way galaxy which we live in. It looks like they have occupied a certain planet within the Orion constellation. It appears it happened somewhat approximately 2 million years ago, and after that your civilization have been living there since, and nothing really happened. We were quite prosperous, but somewhat years like 600,000 years ago we have been invaded by oppressing civilization that is from Orion constellation. They have been reptilian and mixture of other kinds of hostile creatures who have decided to occupy your planet. Your civilization was never warlike and didn't knew how to defend itself, so basically it was a slaughter. Your civilization were mostly wiped out and only a few have escaped. It appears that you and a few others have escaped, but the escape was not without consequence. You haven't actually survived for too long, and after some time you have died on board the ship. And the ship was looking some place to land. It was like on autopilot mode to find the nearest planet where it can land, and not sure exactly, call for help or something, but that was how the autopilot was programmed for in case of emergency, and it was an emergency because the crew have died. But the ship had no way of knowing that, it just followed the program, and it landed on this Earth planet. Looked like it landed somewhere that we would call now the South America, somewhere in Amazon jungles. It was quite a few 100,000 of years ago, and after that basically it landed in the middle of the jungle and it stayed there for a very long time. It was a very long time, thousands of years have passed, and basically the ship have began to decompose and everything disappeared, and your soul have moved from the ship into the earth and kind of restarted the cycle, moved into the ground, became grass again, and the flowers and similar natural objects. It appears that it moved again into some kind of small animals who are eating grass, and later on then the South American Aborigines people appeared. Your soul moved to them and lived for a long time with those people. Looks like it was living like that up until the conquistadors have came from Spain, and that was the first time you have encountered someone different than you. You were usually mostly oriented in the Aborigines people, in the Aboriginal life, like hunting and everything we were doing there. And only in the more modern times you have encountered European man, and it appears we were taking some hostages like slaves or something, and we were transferring them to Spain. You were one of those captured people, and you have been living in a slavery for some time. After not long you have died, and then have reincarnated in Spain as a Spanish person, have been living there, have moved around a little bit, something like Northern Africa, like Morocco, Egypt, in that region, south of Europe also, Greece, Italy, and in most recent times it was France, and this Belgian life does not appear to be extremely relevant. It appears there is a lot of connection with France. Most of the life was lived in France. And now, for this life, it appears that Belgium has some karmic connections. It appears it's some influence. You had to meet some people because of karmic relations. You moved there to meet those people. And now your soul in this lifetime is ready to evolve further. It is an evolving soul which had many cycles, and now it is ready to step into the next level of its evolution, to rediscover its cosmic origins and so on. It appears there is a lot to grow on further, but despite that, your soul is quite ready for all that. Also, we have to consider the fact that there have been evolution before, but it's just that you have restarted a few times. So your soul can remember things, but also the human experience that you are experiencing now is somewhat new for you, because before it was in different forms. But it does appear that you are ready to proceed with your growth. It seems that a few more lifetimes on Earth are going to be necessary to achieve your full evolutionary potential for your soul. After that, you are going to leave this planet, and your soul have accumulated this wealth of knowledge about the progression of the soul, its evolution, its growth, and it seems like there's going to be some open positions in some kind of universities. It appears it's probably going to be in somewhere in Orion constellation, and you are going to go there, first of all study, but after that to teach about the evolution of the soul, and all of your experience is going to be relevant for that, and it's going to be the basis for your teaching. And the students will gonna come who will be willing to learn about the soul's evolution, its growth, its change, and all what is connected to that. It appears that these are the most obvious energies we were able to see. Whatever, do you have some questions regarding the story or not? Well, then in that case we can move for the pictures, if you would like that. In the first picture we see mother with the head. With mother, it appears that you have a long-term relationship. Your souls have karmic relations for sure. It appears that you have known each other for many lifetimes and reincarnated many lifetimes. Looks like you have been friends and partners and whatever you name it. Actually, you have been in many different positions. And it seems like for this lifetime you decided to just choose this position, mother and daughter. It wasn't not exactly necessary exactly this position, but you just chose it because it seemed like fun, I guess. It was the most appropriate probably answer to that. In the next picture we have brother with curly hair. A brother, there doesn't seem to be any particular energy which is seen. Doesn't seem to that you have any karmic relations. It does seem that in certain sense you can be friends because your vibrational frequencies are somewhat matching. You understand each other in many ways, and that was the most appropriate reason why you have reincarnated in the same family. Obviously he had probably some karmic relations with that family also, but not exactly with you. You were just a vibrational match for this brother of yours, and that was just about that. Now the father is a difficult story. Father was the Spanish conquistador who were capturing the Aborigines from the South America, and he was the slave master who caught you and took you into slavery, and later on exploited you, and you died in slavery, and it was a sad story. So what happened after that? Well, you became enemies for quite a few lifetimes. You had poor relationships because you never forgave him for what he did. And well, that led to the fact that you together never fixed that because you never understood the cruelty that he have imposed, all the punishings, and well, it was cruel, like physical punishments and like beating and all of those things. You just never understood why, for what, and there was no reason why. We were just cruel people, that's all. And you were the victim of circumstance. So you never forgave him, and it dragged up onto this life, and even onto this life it was somewhat like his karmic debt to be your father, grow you, and somewhat repay that debt. He was supposedly to be a good father. It was his lesson to be a good father, to be kind to you, and to this way repay his debt. Does not seem to be that he improved all that much, that his strength and might, willingness to rule and to show who's the boss is still there, and he didn't have progressed that much through there. Therefore, there's still some issues, and you don't see in your soul, you are unable to see, why should I forget, well, not even forget, but forgive this person, because it doesn't seem to have changed, because you kind of are willing in your heart to forgive him, but because he's not changing, you don't see how can you forgive and forget, because he hasn't really changed. So therefore you are both stuck here, and not much more can be said here, except unless you were to break the ice by just like manually, forcefully forgiving him, which is an advanced technique to fix the current situation. Well, but because we shouldn't expect that improvement from his side, but it is possible from your side if you were to do that. But it's up to you, actually. You don't have to do it. But just be mindful that if you are not going to forgive him, then the relationship is gonna grow colder and colder with time. In the next picture, there is best friend with pillow, it appears. So this best friend was actually your friend. You became friends in Spain. He was a Spanish person, and he was a good person back then, and you became good friends. After you became, for your next lifetime, you became a Spanish person. So you were best friends, and he was sent to you like, let's just put it like a guardian angel back then, to help you to acclimatize to Spanish life, because it was new for you and all that. So he helped you a lot. And well, after that, it appears that your paths have split. But in this lifetime, you met again. And it's like you decided to say goodbye to him, because it appears that something is changing and you're probably not gonna be able to meet again. And you decided, I would like to meet that person again. I would like to say goodbye to him and to have a good time again, and just then move on with calmness on your chest, because you met him again. Said thank you for his kind heart and all that, and just move on. So it's good for you to be friends. In the next picture, there is ex-boyfriend with a hat. Ex-boyfriend, you have karmic relationships. It appears you have been together. It appears that it's coming back from South American experience, and you were living as Aborigines there, and he was in some kind of another tribe, and you have been, well, in bad relationship between the tribes, and there have been some wars between the tribes, and it appears that he was your like a villain or a rival or whatever. You have clashed in some fights like men. You had a lot of lives as a man back then. Well, after that, never resolved, and for this lifetime you had to meet again, and you had to somewhat make a statement to him that it was something like that person was willing to victimize you and to show whatever he's better or whatever he wanted to show. And in this lifetime, maybe it wasn't in that literal sense as before, but in some kind of psychological sense, you met again for that fight, in a psychological fight. So it was the whole point to have that fight, and the lecture was there, the lesson that you needed to learn is to just make some kind of strong statement that no, this is not good, this shouldn't be done, and mostly you had to take back some of your like self-confidence, I would say, by making a statement like, no, stop, go away, this is wrong. And that was the lesson. Apparently the energies have been somewhat resolved, therefore the relationship have ended. That was the last picture. Is there anything else you would like to talk about? For your soul to get creative, you should try to explore some indigenous art, like Aborigines art. Like you have that creativeness lies within the nature, and something that especially South American tribes and all that, they have some, let's just call them natural arts, with herbs, with some kind of whatever they are doing there. But the point is that if you were to explore some of those aboriginal arts, especially from South American, you should discover some intuitive arts which you had before when you were living there. You should intuitively discover those. Maybe you're not going to remember them exactly, but intuitively it should seem something similar, and that should inspire you to explore the artistic idea further. For your soul to find peace, because your soul is from the earth element, you need to connect to the ground, to the earth. And if you were to do something on the ground and touch the ground, especially with bare feet, with your hands and maybe even the body, if it's possible, that should calm you down and you should find more peace. It appears that the most inappropriate circumstance what is now, it might be all the social surroundings and today's world with technologies and all that. This, for your soul, it seems somewhat unnatural. It's not really connecting to all that. So everything which is about nature, and especially the ground, there you can find some peace, but not in the social world that we are living in. For your soul to be completed with the lesson that you needed to learn from your ex-boyfriend is somewhat connected with your feeling of self-confidence. Your boyfriend, he might come back for you or after you if your self-confidence will go down. If you will start to feel victimized and not self-confident enough, he might come back and try to, somewhat hurt you or use you in that regard. But if your self-confidence will grow, then he's not gonna be willing to come back because he will see you as too strong of an opponent and he's not gonna be willing to tackle you again. So it's connected to that, and you can measure your self-confidence level by how close the guy is to you. The closer he gets, you should use that as a barometer to measure, am I strong enough? Because the guy is coming back, something might be wrong. You should consider that. For your soul to learn about protection, there are universal recipes, of course, but not every universal recipe is for everyone. For your soul, it is best to nourish the soul, to connect to the nature as much as possible, especially the ground. That's the first step. And the second one, you should connect to some exotic animals. For example, some exotic cats, or mostly it appears that a lot of with cats, but something that could remind you the strong animals which are living in the jungles, and you should try and discovering your soul animal and draw that energy, that strength from the soul animal. And for that, the easiest way would be to get some animal, but some animal which could remind you the strength of the jungle animals. And you should learn that strength from that animal. And this way, it's easiest for you to understand the inner strength and how it works and how to learn it. You should start with that. After that, there are more advices which can be given, but these are it appears that the easiest and most accessible for your individual case. Was there anything more, maybe, which have arisen that you would like to say or ask? Okay. So the last thing which needs to be said, that we are very thankful for you, Madame, grateful that we were able to communicate with you, and we are hoping that this channel was able to somehow help you to do your service. So if the service was useful for you, you find it useful for yourself, there is a possibility to express your gratitude, and in our website there are means how to do it. So with that, we are thanking you for the conversation, and we wanted to wish you all the best.